The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched far beyond what human eyes could easily see. 847 different species filled the massive chamber, each representative sitting in specially designed seats that matched their particular biology. Some breathed methane, others required extreme cold, and a few existed as pure energy contained in crystalline structures. The air itself was divided into sections, each maintained at different temperatures and chemical compositions. Tae-Yang stood at the central podium, his simple black suit looking plain compared to the elaborate decorations worn by other ambassadors. He was the first human to ever address the council. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice remained steady as he spoke into the translation device. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, "I come before you today representing the people of Earth. We seek peaceful membership in this great assembly. We bring offerings of friendship, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation." Most of the representatives listened politely, though many seemed bored. Humans were a new species, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. They controlled only one star system. They had no great wealth, no unique resources, nothing that made them particularly special. To the council, they were just another primitive species requesting admission. Tae-Yang continued his speech, explaining Earth's history, their scientific achievements, and their desire to learn from older civilizations. He spoke of human art, music, and philosophy. He presented data screens showing Earth's commitment to peace, their international cooperation, and their unified planetary government. Commander Theron of the Vraxil Empire listened with growing contempt. The Vraxil were a proud warrior race, controlling 47 star systems and commanding one of the largest military fleets in the galaxy. They had built their empire through strength and conquest. To Theron, humans looked weak and foolish. When Tae-Yang finished his speech and opened the floor for questions, Theron stood immediately. His massive form towered over most other species. His skin was covered in thick armor plates, and his forearms ended in claws that could tear through steel. "I have a statement, not a question," Theron announced, his voice booming through the chamber. "The Vraxil Empire formally objects to Earth's membership application. These humans are unworthy of joining civilized space." A murmur rippled through the assembly. Such direct insults during a membership hearing were unusual, though not unheard of. Tae-Yang maintained his composure. "May I ask what concerns the Vraxil Empire has? We are prepared to address any questions about our qualifications." Theron laughed, a harsh sound that made several nearby representatives flinch. "Concerns? Look at your own history, human. Your species has been at war with itself for thousands of years. You have developed hundreds of ways to kill each other. You nearly destroyed your own planet with nuclear weapons. You are violent, aggressive, and primitive. You do not belong among peaceful species." Tae-Yang nodded slowly. "It is true that our history contains much violence. We do not hide from this fact. But we have learned from our mistakes. For the past 200 years, Earth has been unified and peaceful. We have worked hard to overcome our violent past." 200 years? Theron scoffed. "The Vraxil have known peace within our empire for 10,000 years. 200 years means nothing. You are still the same warlike species you have always been. You simply lack worthy opponents to fight." Elder Counselor Mora, an ancient being from the Pelthian Collective, raised one of her tentacles. "Commander Theron, your objection is noted. However, many species had violent histories before joining the Council. Humanity's recent centuries of peace are promising." "Promising?" Theron turned to face Mora. "They are predators from a death world. Have you reviewed the reports? Their planet is filled with creatures that evolved to kill and eat each other. The humans themselves evolved as pursuit hunters. They chased their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. What kind of civilized species comes from such a background?" Tae-Yang felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Yes, Earth is what you call a death world. But that has taught us to value life. We know how fragile existence can be. We protect our environment and care for other species precisely because we understand the cost of carelessness." Theron's eyes narrowed. "You speak pretty words, human. But I see through them. Your species is dangerous. You hide your true nature behind talk of peace and cooperation. The galaxy would be safer if your kind remained locked in your single star system. Then we will prove ourselves through our actions," Tae-Yang replied. "We ask only for the chance to demonstrate our peaceful intentions." "No," Theron said flatly. "I will not allow Earth to join this council. In fact, I believe stronger action is necessary." He turned to address the full assembly. The Vraxil Empire hereby declares that Earth's star system now falls under our territorial claims. We will bring order to this dangerous species. We will teach them the proper place of primitive beings in a civilized galaxy. Shocked silence filled the chamber. What Theron was describing was effectively a declaration of war against Earth. Mora's voice cut through the stunned quiet. Commander Theron, you cannot be serious. You are proposing military action against a species that has offered you no provocation. They exist, Theron replied. That is provocation enough. Their very nature threatens galactic peace. Better to control them now while they are weak than to face them when they grow stronger. Tae-Yang's face remained expressionless, but inside his mind was racing. He activated his encrypted communication device, sending an emergency signal back to Earth. The message was simple. War declared. Vraxil Empire. Invasion imminent. The Vraxil fleet will depart for Earth within the week, Theron continued. We will accept Earth's unconditional surrender and take control of their military capabilities. Their people will be given the choice to serve the Empire or be relocated to reservation worlds. This is mercy, more than such a species deserves. Several council members began to protest, but Theron ignored them. He looked directly at Tae-Yang. You may return to your homeworld, human. Tell your leaders to prepare for our arrival. If they surrender immediately, we will be merciful. If they resist, we will crush them and take what we want by force. Tae-Yang met Theron's gaze without fear. I will deliver your message, Commander. But I must warn you, attacking Earth is a mistake. A terrible mistake that you will regret. Theron laughed again. Regret? What can your species possibly do to the Vraxil Empire? You have 30 combat ships. We are sending 200. Your weapons are centuries behind ours. Your soldiers have no combat experience against real warriors. You will fall in days, perhaps hours. Perhaps, Tae-Yang said quietly. Or perhaps you do not know us as well as you think. The council dissolved into chaos as representatives began arguing. Some supported Theron's aggressive stance, believing that dangerous species should be controlled. Others condemned the Vraxil for unprovoked warfare. Still others simply made notes, already calculating how this conflict might affect their own interests. Tae-Yang gathered his materials and left the chamber. As he walked through the corridors of the council station, he allowed himself a small smile. The Vraxil thought they knew everything about humanity. They had observed Earth for decades, watching through their telescopes and monitoring human communications. They thought they understood human capabilities. They were wrong. Back on Earth, President Jiwoo received Tae-Yang's message in her office. She immediately activated the emergency defense protocols. Within minutes, alarms were sounding in military bases across the planet, on the Moon, on Mars, and in the asteroid belt colonies. Fleet Admiral Hyun-woo arrived at the presidential office within 20 minutes. He carried a thick file marked with the highest security classification. They've done it, Jiwoo said. The Vraxil have declared war. Hyun-woo nodded. Then it's time. Initiate Protocol Starfall. Jiwoo entered her command codes into the secure terminal. Across the solar system, hidden military installations began powering up. Weapons that had been kept secret for decades were brought online. Ships disguised as civilian vessels dropped their camouflage. Soldiers who had trained in secret prepared for combat. The Vraxil Empire thought they were attacking a weak, primitive species. They were about to discover how wrong they were. Humanity had spent 200 years preparing for this moment, building and planning in secret, hoping they would never need to reveal their true strength. That hope had just died. Now the galaxy would see what humans could do when threatened. Now the Vraxil would learn why it was dangerous to attack a species that had survived everything their death world could throw at them. The war was coming, and Earth was ready. The Vraxil fleet departed from their home system 3 days after Theron's declaration. 200 warships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with armor that could withstand nuclear weapons. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The fleet's commander was Theron himself, confident that he would return home within a month with Earth's surrender. The journey would take 3 months at faster-than-light speeds. The Vraxil used this time to plan their attack strategy and train their troops. They studied what little they knew about human defenses. It was not impressive. Earth had 30 warships, all of them smaller than Vraxil cruisers. Their weapons technology was primitive. Their shields were weak. The humans had no chance. As the fleet moved through neutral space, Theron broadcast messages declaring his intentions. He wanted other species to see Vraxel's strength. He wanted the galaxy to know that the Empire was protecting civilization from dangerous primitives. Most species ignored these messages, but some paid attention. Word spread throughout the Council that the Vraxel were about to conquer Earth. 2 weeks into their journey, the Vraxel fleet passed through a region near Jupiter's orbit, where humans had established a small research station. Theron ordered his ships to destroy it as a demonstration of power. The station was automated with no crew aboard, but it was still human property. Vraxel weapons tore the station apart in seconds. Metal and machinery scattered into space, torn into pieces by energy blasts. Theron recorded the destruction and transmitted it toward Earth. His message was simple. This is your future. Surrender, or be destroyed. What Theron did not know was that the station's destruction had been observed by dozens of hidden sensors scattered throughout the solar system. These sensors immediately relayed data back to Earth's military command. Now humanity knew exactly what Vraxel weapons could do. They knew the power output, the firing rate, the shield frequency. The destruction of that small station had given Earth everything they needed to prepare an effective defense. On Earth, the military mobilization continued in secret. To anyone watching from outside the solar system, Earth appeared to be in panic. Ships moved in confused patterns. Communication traffic increased dramatically. It looked like a civilization preparing for a desperate last stand. Captain Da'un commanded what appeared to be a simple mining station orbiting in the asteroid belt. The facility had been mining valuable minerals for 20 years, or so the official records claimed. In reality, the mining station was an orbital weapons platform armed with particle beam cannons capable of punching through battleship armor. 30 other mining stations throughout the asteroid belt were similarly armed. Da'un reviewed the latest intelligence reports about the approaching Vraxel fleet. Her crew was ready. They had trained for this moment for years, practicing combat drills while maintaining their cover as civilian miners. Now that training would be put to the test. How long until they arrive? Asked her second officer, Lieutenant Minji. 6 weeks, Da'un replied. More than enough time to finish preparations. On Luna, humanity's moon, Colonel Jae-hoon oversaw the activation of weapons that had been hidden inside artificial craters for decades. What appeared to be scientific research facilities were actually military bases housing antimatter missiles. The warheads were small but incredibly powerful, each one capable of destroying a ship much larger than anything humans had built. Jae-hoon walked through the underground corridors, inspecting each launch facility personally. His soldiers were nervous but determined. They knew they would be facing an enemy with superior numbers and technology, but they also knew that humans had advantages the Vraxel could not imagine. On Mars, engineer Bo-Ra worked frantically at the hidden shipyards built deep inside the Valles Marineris canyon system. For 30 years, humanity had been constructing warships in secret, building them inside Mars where they could not be detected by distant observers. The ships were covered with stealth technology that made them invisible to most sensors. Bo-Ra activated the final assembly sequence for the last batch of ships. 73 warships emerged from their hiding places in the canyon walls, their engines powering up for the first time. These were not the small primitive vessels that the Vraxel expected. These were advanced combat ships incorporating technology that humans had developed specifically for fighting against superior numbers. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Hyun-woo studied holographic displays showing the disposition of all human forces. He stood in the underground command center, surrounded by officers who would coordinate the defense of humanity's home system. The room hummed with quiet efficiency as data flowed in from across the solar system. Status report, Hyun-woo commanded. Major Seok-jin stepped forward. All orbital platforms are armed and ready. Luna Base reports full combat readiness. The Mars fleet has completed system checks and is awaiting orders. Asteroid belt positions are manned and concealed. Earth's atmospheric defense network is online. Hyun-woo nodded. The pieces were in place. Now they needed to make the Vraxel believe Earth was weak, until the enemy was fully committed to the attack. It was a dangerous game, but humanity had become very good at appearing harmless while preparing for violence. Dr. So-jin entered the command center carrying a portable computer. She was the lead scientist on humanity's most important secret project, quantum communication technology. While most species in the galaxy still use light-speed radio transmissions, Humans had developed a way to send messages instantaneously across any distance. The quantum network is fully operational, Sojin reported. All our ships and stations can coordinate in real time. The Vraxil will still be waiting for light-speed signals when we've already responded to their movements. This was a crucial advantage. In space combat, information traveled at the speed of light, which meant there was always a delay between when something happened and when you could react to it. Human forces could act as one unified fleet with no communication lag. The Vraxil had no idea this technology even existed. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council Station, Ambassador Tae Yang remained at his post. He attended council sessions and participated in debates, maintaining Earth's diplomatic presence even as his homeworld prepared for war. Many representatives approached him privately, offering sympathy for Earth's impending destruction. "It is unfortunate," said Ambassador Kelthus of the Andorian Consortium. "Your species showed promise. Perhaps the Vraxil will be merciful." Tae Yang sipped his tea calmly. Perhaps. Only Counselor Mora seemed to sense that something was different about the human ambassador's demeanor. She had lived for 3,000 years and had seen many species face extinction. Usually their representatives showed fear or desperation. Tae Yang showed neither. He was too calm, too composed. She requested a private meeting with him in her chambers. When they were alone, she spoke directly. "You are not afraid," Mora observed. "I am terrified," Tae Yang replied honestly. "War is always terrible and people will die. But fear and helplessness are not the same thing. You believe Earth can survive? I believe the Vraxil have made a serious mistake." Mora studied him carefully. "What do you know that the rest of us do not?" Tae Yang smiled slightly. "Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We have been preparing for first contact with hostile aliens since we first reached our moon. We hoped it would never be necessary. We hoped we would find friendly civilizations who welcomed us peacefully. But we prepared for the alternative. You have hidden weapons," Mora guessed. "We have many things hidden, Counselor." The Vraxil looked at Earth from far away and thought they understood us. They saw our public military and assumed that was all we had. They were wrong. Mora felt a chill despite her age and experience. How wrong? Very wrong. Back in the solar system, the pieces continued to fall into place. Pilot Dong Hyun and his squadron of fighters conducted training exercises, perfecting maneuvers that no other species used. Human pilots fought differently than alien pilots because humans had spent centuries developing aerial combat tactics during their wars with each other. Commander Yejin oversaw the Marine battalions that would board enemy ships if the opportunity arose. The Vraxil considered boarding actions barbaric, something that civilized species did not do. Humans had no such reservations. If they could capture Vraxil vessels, they would. As the Vraxil fleet drew closer, human forces moved into final positions. Visible ships deliberately positioned themselves in predictable defensive formations. Hidden ships waited in unexpected locations. Weapons platforms maintained their civilian disguises. Everything was ready. Theron's fleet crossed into the outer solar system, passing Neptune's orbit. Their sensors detected Earth's defensive fleet waiting near Mars. 30 ships arranged in a standard defensive formation. Theron examined the tactical display and laughed. "Is this their entire fleet?" he asked his tactical officer. "Sensors show no other combat vessels, Commander. Just those 30 ships and some orbital platforms around Earth itself." "Pathetic," Theron declared. "They cannot possibly believe they can stop us with so few ships. This will be over in hours." His tactical officer hesitated. "Sir, there is something strange. We are detecting unusual energy readings throughout the asteroid belt. It might be—" The Vraxil fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Mars' orbit. 200 warships materialized in perfect formation, their weapons already charging for combat. Commander Theron stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. There, just as his sensors had predicted, waited Earth's pathetic defense fleet. 30 human ships hung in space between Mars and the asteroid belt. They were smaller than Vraxil cruisers, and their energy signatures indicated weaker shields and weapons. To Theron, they looked like toys preparing to fight real warships. "All ships battle formation," Theron commanded. "Advance and engage. Show these primitives the power of the Vraxil Empire." The Vraxil fleet moved forward in a wall of ships 5 rows deep. It was a classic formation designed to maximize firepower while maintaining defensive coverage. Against a smaller force, it was practically unstoppable. The human ships began to retreat, falling back toward the asteroid belt. Theron smiled. They were running already, just as he expected. "Pursue them," he ordered. "Do not let them escape. I want every ship destroyed or captured." On the bridge of the human flagship, Admiral Hyunwoo watched the Vraxil advance with calm eyes. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The enemy was aggressive and confident, charging forward without proper reconnaissance. They were making his job easier. "How long until they reach the kill zone?" he asked. Captain Yuna checked her display. 8 minutes, Admiral." "Good. All ships maintain retreat pattern. Make it look convincing." The human ships continued to fall back, firing their weapons occasionally but not doing much damage to the Vraxil shields. They looked desperate and disorganized. Several ships appeared to have engine problems, trailing behind the main group. The Vraxil pressed their advantage, accelerating their pursuit. The first hour of combat went exactly as Theron had predicted. Human ships were taking damage. 2 had lost shield power and were venting atmosphere. The Vraxil pushed deeper into the asteroid belt, eager to finish the battle quickly. That was when everything changed. Captain Da-Yun had been waiting patiently on her mining station for over an hour. The Vraxil fleet had passed within weapons range 20 minutes ago, but she held her fire waiting for the signal. Now it came through the quantum communication network. One simple word from Admiral Hyunwoo: "Now." Da-Yun activated her weapons console. "All platforms drop camouflage and fire at will." Throughout the asteroid belt, 30 mining stations suddenly revealed their true nature. Weapon ports opened on structures that had been broadcasting mining signals for years. Particle beam cannons emerged from hidden bays. Missile launchers armed with antimatter warheads locked onto targets. The Vraxil tactical officers barely had time to register the new contacts on their sensors before the first wave of fire struck. Particle beams sliced through shield generators. Missiles detonated against hull armor. Ships that had been confidently pursuing human vessels suddenly found themselves under attack from all sides. But that was not all. Hundreds of asteroids throughout the belt suddenly activated engines and revealed themselves as camouflaged warships. They had been hiding in plain sight, their energy signatures masked to look like space rocks. Now they surged forward, weapons blazing. "Report," Theron shouted as his flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. "We are surrounded," his tactical officer replied, his voice panicked. "New contacts everywhere. Hundreds of them!" "They were hiding in the asteroids." Theron stared at the tactical display in disbelief. What had been a simple pursuit of 30 ships had suddenly become a battle against what looked like 400 combat vessels. Where had they all come from? The answer was simple. They had been there all along. Humanity had been building and hiding ships for decades, waiting for exactly this moment. The 30 visible ships had been bait, designed to draw the Vraxil into a killing field where they could be attacked from all directions at once. Lieutenant Minji piloted her fighter through the chaos of battle with precise, aggressive moves. She dove between 2 Vraxil cruisers, firing at the gap where their overlapping shields created a weak point. Her weapons scored direct hits on a shield generator, causing one cruiser to lose defensive coverage on its port side. "Target marked," she broadcast. "Strike Team 3, you have an opening." 3 human destroyers immediately focused their fire on the vulnerable cruiser. Without shields, the Vraxil ship took catastrophic damage. Its main reactor went critical, and the entire vessel exploded in a flash of brilliant light. This was happening across the battlefield. Human forces fought with a coordination that should have been impossible. They moved as if they shared one mind, responding to threats and opportunities faster than the Vraxil could counter. The quantum communication network gave them a massive advantage that the enemy could not understand or replicate. But the coordination was only part of it. The other part was how humans fought. Pilot Dong Hyun's fighter took heavy damage from a Vraxil point defense system. His shields collapsed and his engines were failing. Most pilots would have ejected and hoped for rescue. Instead, Dong Hyun activated his emergency thrusters and aimed his dying fighter directly at the Vraxil carrier that had shot him down. "Crew, eject now," he ordered calmly. His 3 crew members punched their emergency ejection buttons, shooting clear of the fighter and rescue pods. Dong Hyun remained at the controls, guiding his fighter on a collision course with the carrier's bridge. The Vraxil point defense tried to shoot down the incoming fighter, but it was too close, moving too fast. Dong Hyun's fighter slammed into the carrier's command center at tremendous speed. The impact killed Donghyun instantly and destroyed the carrier's ability to coordinate its fighter squadrons. Without command and control, the carrier became a liability instead of an asset. Commander Ye-jin watched the boarding pods launch from her assault ship. 40 armored Marines rode each pod toward damaged Vraxil vessels. The pods were designed to cut through hull armor and deposit troops directly inside enemy ships. The Vraxil were not prepared for boarding actions. Most civilized species considered it barbaric to board enemy vessels. Fighting was supposed to happen ship to ship at a distance with honor and rules of engagement. Sending soldiers to fight inside cramped corridors was something primitives did, but humans had centuries of experience with exactly this type of combat. Marine squads moved through Vraxil ships with brutal efficiency, using weapons and tactics that no other species employed. They captured critical systems, destroyed important equipment, and forced Vraxil crews to abandon their posts. Major Seok-jin led one such boarding team, fighting his way toward a Vraxil battleship's reactor room. His Marines wore powered armor and carried weapons designed for close combat. They encountered heavy resistance but pushed forward relentlessly. A Vraxil warrior, massive and heavily armored, blocked the corridor. He roared a challenge, confident that no human could match Vraxil's strength. Seok-jin did not try to match the warrior's strength. Instead, he used the enemy's size against him, dodging the warrior's charge and planting explosive charges on the corridor walls. The blast collapsed the passage on top of the warrior, while Seok-jin's team moved through a maintenance shaft to bypass the obstacle. Strength was not everything. Humans had learned that lesson long ago in their own wars. Adaptation and cleverness could defeat superior force. Throughout the battle, Commander Ye-jin broadcast messages on all frequencies. Vraxil forces, you may surrender at any time. Power down your weapons and we will offer medical assistance and safe custody. We do not wish to kill those who choose to stop fighting. The messages confused the Vraxil. Why would a winning force offer mercy? Why would humans provide medical care to enemies who had come to conquer them? It did not make sense. But some Vraxil ships, damaged and unable to continue fighting, accepted the offer. They powered down their weapons and were boarded by human medical teams who treated their wounded and secured their ships without further violence. The Vraxil prisoners could not understand why they were being treated with such care. On the flagship's bridge, Theron finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. The humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They had deliberately appeared weak to lure the Vraxil into a trap. Every piece of intelligence about Earth's defenses had been carefully planted misinformation. His fleet of 200 warships was being destroyed by an enemy he had underestimated. His crews were dying because of his arrogance. And now he understood something even more terrifying. The humans were still holding back. Even as they tore his fleet apart, they offered surrender and medical care. They were showing restraint while winning. What would they be capable of if they stopped showing restraint? All ships retreat, Theron ordered. Fall back to faster-than-light distance. But retreat was not easy. Human ships blocked escape routes. Weapons platforms covered likely escape vectors. The Vraxil had charged into the asteroid belt with confidence. Now they had to fight their way out, taking losses with every passing minute. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of receiving news about the battle. 847 representatives filled the Great Chamber, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Species that had never known true danger suddenly felt vulnerable. Counselor Mora stood at the central podium, her ancient voice carrying to every corner of the vast hall. We have received preliminary reports about the conflict between the Vraxil Empire and Earth. What we are about to show you is holographic footage transmitted from the battlefield. The lights dimmed, and the center of the chamber filled with three-dimensional images from the battle. Council members watched in stunned silence as the trap unfolded. They saw hundreds of hidden human ships reveal themselves. They saw Vraxil vessels destroyed or captured with frightening efficiency. They saw human fighters performing maneuvers that should have been impossible. They saw boarding actions conducted with brutal precision. When the footage ended, the chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then everyone began talking at once. This cannot be accurate, protested Ambassador Kelthus. Humans were supposed to be primitive. They had 30 ships. They had 400 ships, Mora corrected. They had been building them in secret for decades. They hid their capabilities deliberately. A representative from the Torkian Federation stood, its crystalline form pulsing with agitated light. Why would a species hide its strength? That is not how civilized beings behave. Ambassador Taiyang rose from his seat. May I address the council? Mora gestured for him to come forward. Taiyang walked to the podium, his movements calm despite the hostile stares from many representatives. He activated the holographic display and brought up images of Earth's history. This is why we hid our strength, he began. These images show our history. This is a city destroyed by nuclear weapons. This is the aftermath of a biological attack. This is the devastation caused by chemical warfare. We developed all of these weapons ourselves and we used them against each other. The images continued, showing humanity's darkest moments. Wars that killed millions, weapons that poisoned entire continents, conflicts that nearly destroyed civilization itself. We know what we are capable of, Taiyang continued. We know the horror that our species can unleash. That knowledge haunts us. So when we finally achieved peace among ourselves, we made a decision. We would prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. We would build weapons powerful enough to defend ourselves, but we would hide them. We would appear weak to test whether the galaxy would treat us with kindness or cruelty. He paused, looking around the chamber. The Vraxil chose cruelty. They declared war without provocation. They threatened to conquer our world and relocate our people. So we showed them what happens when you threaten a species that has survived everything our death world could throw at us. Ambassador Vrecht of the Solarian hegemony stood angrily. You deceived the entire galaxy. You pretended to be peaceful while building a massive military. We are peaceful, Taiyang replied. We did not attack anyone. We did not threaten anyone. We built defenses and kept them hidden. When the Vraxil attacked, we defended ourselves. Is that not our right? Councillor Mora nodded. Ambassador Taiyang is correct. Earth was attacked without provocation. They exercised their right to self-defense. Many of you are angry because you feel deceived, but consider, Earth destroyed over 150 Vraxil warships, yet they offered surrender terms. They provided medical care to enemy wounded. They could have annihilated the entire Vraxil fleet, but chose not to. Does this sound like a species that wants war? The chamber erupted in debate. Some agreed with Mora. Others argued that Earth was too dangerous to be allowed into the council. The discussion continued for hours with no clear consensus. While the politicians argued, Captain Yuna arrived at the council station as Earth's military liaison. She was given a small office and invited to observe the proceedings. Her presence made many representatives uncomfortable. She was young, barely 30 years old, yet she moved with confidence and wore medals that indicated she had commanded ships in actual combat. Several military representatives from other species requested meetings with her. They wanted to understand how humans fought so effectively against superior numbers. Yuna met with them politely, answering some questions while carefully avoiding others. Your pilots perform maneuvers that should cause them to lose consciousness from the acceleration forces, observed General Kresh of the Mandorian Supremacy. How is this possible? Yuna smiled slightly. Humans are from a high-gravity world. Our bodies can withstand forces that would kill most species. Our pilots train extensively to maximize this natural advantage. And your communication systems? You coordinated hundreds of ships with no delay. That is impossible with light-speed communications. We have our methods, Yuna replied, not explaining the quantum network. Some secrets were still worth keeping. While the council debated, the Vraxil Empire faced a crisis of its own. Commander Theron had returned home with less than a quarter of his fleet. The defeat was humiliating, but worse was the political fallout. The Vraxil had bragged about conquering Earth quickly and easily. Now they looked weak and foolish. The Vraxil High Command convened an emergency meeting. They could not accept this defeat. Their pride, their reputation, and their position in the galactic hierarchy all depended on maintaining an image of strength. We must respond, declared War Master Cronus. If we do nothing, every species in the galaxy will see us as weak. We will lose our client states. Our empire will collapse. What do you propose? Asked Supreme Commander Valcor. Sending another fleet? After what happened to the first one? We cannot do this alone, Cronus admitted. But we have allies. The Borthak Union fears human expansion. The Zendari Compact has territorial disputes near human space. The Rigelian Confederacy sees humans as competition for resources. We can assemble a coalition fleet. 500 ships or more. Even humans cannot stand against that. Valcor considered this. And if we lose again? We will not lose. This time we will be prepared. This time we will know their tactics. This time we will bring enough force to overwhelm any defenses. The decision was made. The Vraxel Empire began sending diplomatic messages to their allies, calling for a coalition to eliminate the human threat. Many species responded positively. The idea of conquering a Death World species before they became too powerful was appealing to several empires. Back at the council, Ambassador Te Yang learned about the coalition through intelligence channels. He immediately requested a meeting with Counselor Mora. They are planning another attack, he told her privately. A coalition fleet of 500 ships or more. Mora's tentacles drooped with concern. Can Earth withstand such an assault? We can, Te Yang said, but it will cost many lives on both sides. I would prefer to avoid it. What would you have the Council do? We cannot prevent sovereign states from forming alliances. Te Yang leaned forward. Then I must show them exactly what they are facing. I must make them understand that attacking Earth again will end in catastrophe for everyone involved. How? By revealing our true capabilities. All of them. That evening, Te Yang requested an emergency session of the Council. When the representatives gathered, he stood at the podium with a data device in his hand. Honored members, I must inform you that a coalition is forming to launch another attack on Earth. They believe that with greater numbers, they can succeed where the Vraxel alone failed. Before they make this mistake, I want to show you what Earth has been holding back. He activated the holographic display. Images filled the chamber, showing weapons that made many representatives gasp in horror. This is an antimatter bomb, Te Yang explained calmly. We have 3,000 of them. Each one can destroy a planet. We keep them stored in secure facilities, hoping we will never need to use them. But if a fleet of 500 ships attacks Earth, we will use them. The images continued. Weapons that could collapse stars. Biological agents that could sterilize entire worlds. Artificial intelligence programs designed to hack and control enemy ships. Nanomachines that could disassemble matter at the molecular level. We developed these weapons during our darkest years, when we were at war with ourselves. We kept them hidden when we achieved peace. We have never used them against another species, but we will use them if forced to defend our survival. President Jiwoo appeared via holographic transmission from Earth. I want to be absolutely clear. We do not want war. We will offer fair terms to any species that wishes peace, but we will not be conquered. We will not surrender. If you send a fleet to destroy us, you will face weapons that you cannot imagine, and even if you win, the cost will be so high that your victory will mean nothing. Dr. Haywan, Earth's chief weapons scientist, appeared next. I have spent my life studying how to kill efficiently. I know 17 ways to cause a sun to go supernova. I know how to create artificial black holes. I know how to build machines that can consume entire planets. I hope I never have to use this knowledge. But do not mistake my hope for inability. The council chamber was completely silent. Many representatives looked terrified. They had thought humans were dangerous before. The coalition fleet did not dissolve completely. Pride and fear combined in a dangerous way for some species. While many withdrew their ships after seeing Earth's weapons demonstration, a core group remained committed. The Vraxel could not back down without losing all credibility. The Borthak Union had already committed too many resources to retreat. 6 other species maintained their alliance, driven by various political and economic reasons. 4 weeks after the demonstration at the Council, long-range sensors detected the coalition fleet assembling at the Vraxel home system. 347 warships from 8 different species prepared for the journey to Earth. It was smaller than originally planned, but still a massive force. On Earth, President Jiwoo addressed her military commanders. They are coming anyway. We showed them our weapons, we warned them of the cost, and they chose to attack regardless. So be it. Fleet Admiral Hyunwoo pulled up the tactical displays. Our intelligence indicates they will arrive in 6 weeks. We have time to prepare a proper welcome. How many ships can we field? Jiwoo asked. 400 combat vessels, fully armed and crewed. Another 100 support ships for logistics and medical care. We also have the orbital platforms, the asteroid-based weapons, and the Luna defenses. Jiwoo nodded. No antimatter weapons unless absolutely necessary. We warned them, but I do not want to use planet killers unless they force us. Understood, Madam President. The 6 weeks passed quickly. Human forces moved into defensive positions throughout the solar system, but this time they did not hide. Every ship was visible on sensors. Every weapon platform broadcasted its presence. Earth wanted the coalition to see exactly what they were facing and have one final chance to reconsider. The coalition fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Commander Theron was not in charge this time. War Master Cronus of the Vraxil commanded the combined forces. He was older, more experienced, and more cautious than Theron had been. Cronus studied the sensor readings carefully. 400 human ships waited in defensive formation around Mars. Weapons platforms surrounded Earth and Luna. More defenses were positioned throughout the asteroid belt. The humans were not hiding anything. "They want us to see their strength," observed his tactical officer. "Then we will show them that strength is not enough," Cronus replied. "All ships advance in formation. Maintain defensive screens. Watch for ambushes." The coalition fleet moved forward carefully, scanning for hidden ships or weapons. They found none. Everything was visible and accounted for. It made Cronus nervous. What were the humans planning? Admiral Hyunwoo watched the coalition approach on his tactical display. They were being cautious, which was smart. But caution would not save them. He opened a communication channel on all frequencies. "Coalition forces, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are entering human territory without permission. You have one opportunity to turn around and leave peacefully. If you continue, we will consider this an act of war and respond accordingly." Cronus responded immediately. "Human forces, this is War Master Cronus. We have come to end the threat your species poses to the galaxy. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly. Resist and we will destroy your fleet and occupy your worlds. Then we are at war," Hyunwoo replied calmly. "May your gods forgive you because we will not." He closed the channel and activated the fleet-wide command network. "All ships, weapons free. Engage at will." The battle began differently than the first one. This time the humans did not lure the enemy into a trap. This time they met them head-on in open combat. 400 human ships surged forward to meet 347 coalition vessels. Captain Subin commanded one of Earth's carrier groups. Her ship launched 200 fighters in the first wave, each one piloted by humans who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The fighters swept through space in complex patterns, attacking with coordinated precision that the coalition had never seen before. Lieutenant Junho led a boarding team that specialized in rapid ship capture. His Marines used new weapons designed specifically for fighting inside enemy vessels. They were equipped with powered armor that enhanced their strength and portable cutting tools that could breach any bulkhead. But their most important equipment was their training. They knew how to clear rooms, how to fight in zero gravity, and how to disable critical systems quickly. The coalition learned quickly that human technology was not inferior. It was different, developed along paths that no other species had explored. While the rest of the galaxy focused on shields and energy weapons, humans had also invested heavily in kinetic weapons, electronic warfare, and psychological operations. Human ships used electronic warfare systems to jam coalition communications, forcing their enemy to rely on slower visual signals. They launched cyber attacks that infected enemy computers with programs designed to cause confusion and system failures. They broadcast messages that seemed to come from coalition commanders, giving false orders that disrupted their coordination. The coalition ships began to realize that they were not facing a primitive species. They were facing a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Every dirty trick, every psychological tactic, every unconventional strategy that humans had developed during their own wars was now being used against the coalition. War Master Cronus tried to maintain control, but the battle was not going as planned. Human ships were faster and more maneuverable than his intelligence had indicated. Their weapons were more powerful. Their tactics were unpredictable and aggressive. "They are using ramming attacks," his tactical officer reported in shock. "3 of our ships have been destroyed by deliberate collisions." Cronus could not believe it. What kind of species deliberately crashed their ships into enemy vessels? But it was effective. Human ships with damaged engines or failing systems aimed themselves at coalition vessels and used their last moments to cause maximum damage. Lieutenant Minji piloted her fighter through a storm of enemy fire. Her shields failed and her left engine was destroyed, but she kept fighting. She lined up a shot on a Borthak cruiser's engine section and fired her remaining missiles. The cruiser exploded, taking 2 nearby coalition ships with it in the blast. Minji's fighter tumbled through space, powerless and drifting. Within minutes, a human rescue shuttle picked her up. She was back in combat in a new fighter within an hour. This was another advantage the humans had. Their rescue and medical systems were incredibly efficient. Pilots who ejected were recovered quickly. Wounded soldiers received immediate treatment. Ships that were damaged could limp back to repair stations and return to combat. The Coalition had no such systems. Their casualties were permanent. But the real surprise came when the humans began capturing Coalition ships instead of destroying them. Boarding teams would disable a vessel's weapons and engines, then offer the crew a choice: surrender and receive medical care, or die fighting. Commander Ye Jin personally led the negotiation with a captured Vraxel battleship. She stood in the airlock unarmed, speaking to the Vraxel captain through a communication link. "Your ship is disabled," she explained calmly. "Your weapons are offline. Your engines are destroyed. You cannot escape and you cannot fight, but you can survive. Order your crew to lay down their weapons and I promise you will be treated well. You will receive food, medical care, and eventually you will be returned to your people." The Vraxel captain was confused. "Why would you offer this?" "We came to conquer you. Because we do not want to kill you. We want to defend our home, but we do not enjoy death. Surrender and live. That is the choice." After a long pause, the Vraxel captain accepted. His crew laid down their weapons and human medical teams came aboard to treat their wounded. The Vraxel warriors watched in amazement as humans gave them water, food, and medical supplies. Some of them were crying, not from pain but from confusion at being treated with kindness by an enemy. This scene repeated across the battlefield. Coalition ships that surrendered were treated with unexpected mercy. Wounded enemy soldiers received the same medical care as wounded humans. Prisoners were given comfortable quarters and regular meals. It was warfare conducted with violence but also with compassion, a combination that most species had never seen. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the Coalition had lost 218 ships. The remaining vessels, damaged and demoralized, attempted to retreat. Admiral Hyunwoo let them go. "Do not pursue," he ordered. "We have made our point." The human fleet had lost 39 ships with 2,400 casualties. It was a higher cost than the first battle, but they had faced a much larger force, and they had proven that Earth could defend itself against any enemy. President Ji-woo broadcast a message to the retreating Coalition and to the entire galaxy. "We did not want this war. We warned you what would happen if you attacked. You chose not to listen. Now you have seen what humans can do when defending their home. We hope this will be the last time we must demonstrate our capabilities." She paused, then continued with a different tone. "But we also want you to see what else we can offer. We have advanced medical technology that could save millions of lives across the galaxy.